Hi there. I have a new video, and I just want to thank Lori Marie for submitting a question to me because I'm going to be addressing it in this video, which is how do I handle weight discrimination at the doctor's office? It is so common for people to be going to the doctors and it being all about their weight. So, a couple things that I want to start with. The first one is that I want to be completely honest that growing up, at least up until this point in my life, I have a certain amount of thin privilege, meaning that I've not yet had a doctor focus on my weight at a doctor's appointment. That's not to say that that won't change in the future, but up until this point, I haven't experienced that. So I can't speak right now from personal experience. What I am going to be speaking from is a place of listening to many people who have experienced weight discrimination at the doctor's office. I think it was really important, firstly, for me to even understand that this happens. And I think anybody who is watching this who is in a thin body or a average size body to just know that we receive a certain privilege of doctors not focusing on our size as a cause of whatever symptom or issue that we're coming in with. And a lot of people I know, like, the message is that weight causes ill health. It, is the cause of joint pain, or it's the cause of high blood pressure. But there's actually no hard evidence that shows that it's the weight that is the causal factor. So, which is kind of just seems mind-boggling because it's what is really honed in on by the medical community. Thankfully, there are more doctors that are starting to speak up about this and are actually flat out admitting I was wrong. I discriminated against my patients based on their size, and I'm wrong, and I'm sorry, and I'm working to not operate from that paradigm anymore. Actually, I'll put some links to a couple of medical doctors that you can follow on Instagram that are starting to really speak from a weight neutral perspective. So that's number one. Everything that I'm sharing here is from tips that I have heard from other people in larger bodies who have experienced weight discrimination. And it's really important to know too that where the medical community is right now is that it's a weight-based paradigm of healthcare. So right now it looks as size as indicative of health. And that just, the evidence is just not there to show it. And this is actually causing harm and making people sicker as a result. Sicker not only from taking part in really eating disordered behavior in order to get thinner. It's also meaning that people's very serious concerns and symptoms are being ignored in favor of weight loss, saying like, oh, if you just lose weight, that's gonna solve the problem. And really sad to say that people have died because doctors have just focused on weight instead of people's symptoms. So it's crucial that we change this, that this changes, excuse me. And how we really need to start doing it is advocating for ourselves. So if you can find a doctor who's willing to work from a weight neutral perspective, and some people recommend writing them a letter in advance to just say, I'm looking for a practitioner who's not going to be focusing on weight, but is instead going to be focusing on my symptoms, is going to, listen to and trust what I'm experiencing in my body, and is willing to give me recommendations based on that. That can be kind of a pre-screening process. You can also refuse to be weighed. And I know, and that does not mean though that people, whoever are asking for this as part of their intake, won't be upset about it. Okay, because sometimes they're just trying to do their job. Like, this is what they're told to do, and they see it as like, oh, this person's making my job harder. So but your care first. Like, focus on your care first, and you can refuse to be weighed, and they can write that down. And as far as I know from listening to other doctors who are working with insurance companies. I remember specifically when I was listening to a podcast by Dr. Gaudiani of the Gaudiani Clinic was saying that you can actually put on the forms that you refuse to be weighed. Also, if doctors are refusing to give you tests or certain levels of care because of your size, and you're maybe requesting it, or you're pretty convinced that if this was a thin person coming in with the same symptoms, they would be giving you a different level of care, you can also ask to request. And I really, really wish I had credit to give to this person. It was like a Twitter post that was shared, but I thought it was brilliant. It was, you can put that, please, you can say, please ask that the doctor refused to give me this test. I want that marked on my record. And that sometimes can change doctors' minds as to whether or not they want that in writing on the record. A common question to ask, and I'm also going to put a link to this one, comes from Reagan Chastain. So she has a blog, Dances with Fat, and if you're not following her, I'd recommend it. She has a list actually of questions that you can ask at the doctor's office. One of them is, and I've kind of already mentioned this before, is do thin people get this health problem, and what do you recommend for them? So that's making sure that, the doctor is focusing on the symptom and not the weight, because there is no symptom or illness that a person in a large body comes in with that a thin person doesn't also come in with. Okay, so that's something else is to think about and realize, is that, health problems are not specific to a body size. All body sizes get all different kinds of problems, and so the reality is that we need to be, asking for the optimal care for that symptom that we're presenting. Also saying something like, this person, Lori Marie, who wrote into me, felt more of it was hyper focused on just dropping X number of pounds, and it was really kind of a small amount. There was this feeling when I'm gathering is of sort of shaming the person for gaining this weight. And you can say something like, shame is bad for my health, and I'd ask that you first do no harm and provide me with shame-free health care. I know that one can take a lot of guts and courage to say. You can also say something like, in our limited time that we have together, I'd like to focus on what I came in for and not have this weight discussion. It can also be helpful to have an advocate with you. So it can be really hard to do this by yourself, and especially when there's a power differential. So there is a power differential in the relationship between the doctor and the patient. If it was in my perfect health care world, that power differential that gap would be closed, and that doctors would be allowing us to asking the patient for what's important to us. What do we value? What works for us in our life, and also to trust our bodies. I think all of us we sort of know when something's wrong, and to ask for doctors to trust that. So doctors working with us instead of this, sort of over and above us. Anyways, that's just my own little side note. So those are some tips that I have. I really wish that I could say that this was easy, quick and easy. And here, I keep saying where is this list of weight neutral doctors that we can find? Because they're gems and people are desperate for it. As far as I know, it doesn't exist, and I hope that we'll see one in the future. It's rough out there right now, and understanding that, not only are doctors being trained in a weight-based model, but they've also grown up in diet culture. So they also have their own internalized fat phobia and weight biases. So it's also personal as well as this professional training. But I can't remember if I said this before in the beginning, that I'll link to a couple of doctors that you can follow on Instagram who are helping to promote this weight neutral method to healthcare, and just good luck. I know how hard it can be, and my hope is that we really just need to be working at the personal advocacy level at this stage, And my hope is that things will improve and you'll be able to find a doctor or healthcare practitioner that's not focusing on the weight, but focusing instead on how you feel, helping you with maybe health behaviors, and really focusing on the symptoms and getting the care that you need. So thank you very much for watching this video. For those of you who haven't already downloaded my Body Acceptance Jumpstart Guide, 5 actions that you can take to feel better in your body now, I will have the link below. Also, if there is a video or a particular topic that you'd like to hear my thoughts on, you can I'll send a link for a Q&A link where you can submit a question, and I'll give my thoughts on it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye.